This next story is something a Dayton area doctor says he has never seen, and the man's family gives all the credit to God. Tony Yahle was suffering from irregular breathing at home. His family did CPR and eventually took him to the hospital. Doctors say Yahle coded for 45 minutes. A team of medical personnel tried to stimulate his heart, but no luck. A doctor declared Yahle dead the afternoon of August 5th. Then, suddenly, as nurses were ready to let the family view his body, Yahle showed signs of life.
Then everybody started telling me how it happened, and that's when I started to understand, a miracle happened.
I pointed at him and I said, "Dad, you're not going to die today." And I stood there for about a few more seconds, and I was about to walk back to, comfort the family.
And that's when Tony Yahle's heart started beating. His cardiologist says this is beyond rare.
But in the last 20 years, I've never seen anybody who we have pronounced dead. And actually, the patient we saw, there was no activity when we stopped doing all our efforts. And then for him to come back, I've never seen it. Actually, I've never heard of it.
It's been the topic of discussion in medical circles, but Tony Yahle says there was only one factor at work.
It definitely strengthened my faith, my family's faith, everybody I know's faith. And like I've said, if it strengthened everybody's faith, I'll take the lumps for it,
Yahle was unconscious for 5 days, but doctors sent him home from the hospital last Thursday. Says he feels just fine.
Wow. What
a
profound experience.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is
Wouldn't you like
amazing.
to talk to that man,
Yes.
just in general, just
Yes.
sit at a table and find out his thoughts about this? That'd be rather interesting.
Life-changing for him, maybe for you too, if you sit and listen.
Yeah, maybe so. That's true. Hey.
After 45 minutes with no heartbeat, 37-year-old Tony Yahle was pronounced dead. He had no pulse, but in what some are calling a medical miracle, something even his doctors can't explain, Yahle was revived.
I've never seen anybody who we have pronounced dead come back.
In the middle of the night on August 5th, Yahle's wife Melissa noticed him breathing strangely. She checked his pulse and tried to wake him up, but no response. In a panic, she called 911. He was rushed to the hospital. Later that afternoon, Yahle's heart went into arrhythmia. Then it stopped. For 45 minutes, doctors and nurses went into overdrive trying to stimulate his heart. Nothing. Presuming they were unsuccessful, his doctor pronounced him dead, told the family, and allowed them to see his apparently lifeless body. Yahle's 17-year-old son, Lawrence, was in disbelief.
I pointed at him and I said, "Dad, you're not going to die today."
And he was right. Within moments, Tony's heartbeat came back, suddenly showing signs of life.
Went from hopeless to hope in an instant.
After 5 days in a coma, Yahle came to, with no recollection of how he cheated death.
I've really shared this experience with a lot of my colleagues, and none of them have ever heard this kind of coming back.
This. You go into the room, Lawrence, and you couldn't believe it. What was it in you, other than just shock, that made you feel like somebody had it wrong?
Well, they were working on him for 45 minutes, and all the doctors and nurses came into the room. They sent us into a counseling room, and they didn't even have to say anything. You just knew, they were going to pronounce him dead. But it's just something wasn't right. They almost just looked at us, and no emotion almost. Everyone in tears. But for some reason, I just thought, he's 37 years old. He's never had a heart problem. He's not dead in that room. So, I go back there. My pastor Paul was, he was there, and we were praying next to the room. I was in the doorway, and something came in me and got me to point at him, and I said, "Dad, you're not going to die today." And when I said that, I stood there for a few more moments, and I started walking back to the counseling room to comfort my sisters and my mom and anyone else. And I took about 3 steps, and my pastor Paul, he looked at me and he said, Lawrence, you got my attention." And he said, "Your dad, he has a heartbeat." So I got to rush to the counseling room, and cheer everyone up with that news. So that was awesome.
Holy cow. Melissa, when you hear, I mean, it just gives you tingles just